Hi, so in this unit we're going to be talking about financial literacy, and so that's just, how we use math and money. In this first stop we're going to be talking about checking accounts. So we first need to define some of the vocabulary we're going to be using. So we're going to fill in these blanks here. The movement or exchange of money is called a transaction. There are different types of transaction, but anytime you move money around, that's what you're making, a transaction. Okay, so two types of transaction that we're going to look at today are the deposit and the withdrawal. And you've probably heard these words before. The deposit is when you add money to your account. So you go to the bank and you have an account set up and you want to put money into your account. What you're making is a deposit. Now, if you go to the bank and you take money out, then that's called a withdrawal. And it's when you subtract money from your account. But either one of those is a type of transaction. Okay? When money is moved between accounts, such as if you have a checking account at your bank and you have a savings account and you want to put money in one, and so you have to take it out of another, then what you're making is called a transfer. A written record of all your transactions. So when you keep records of what you've done, made deposits, withdrawals, transfers, and that's called a check register. So it's basically a list of everything you do with your money at the bank. It's important to keep a list of these things because you want to make sure you have enough money in your account to do what you're trying to do. You don't want to take too much money out because then you're overdrawn and there are penalties and fees for that. And then you want to make sure if you write a check that you've got enough money to cover that check. You need to keep track of when you deposit money so that you know like when it's time to pay bills or you're going to have enough in your account for all that. All right, so to keep a record of all transactions and the final balance in the account is called balancing the check register. So the actual register is just a list of your deposits and withdrawal. It looks like this is what it looks like on paper down here. This is an example of a check register. So when you keep your list here, what you're doing is making your check register or filling it out. But when you actually find the amount, the total you have left over, so if I withdraw $575, how much is left over here? That's called balancing the check register. And we're going to look at this in a little bit. All right, so this first part asks us to tell whether each represents a deposit or withdrawal from a checking account. So the first one is paying an online subscription bill. So you want to think about, is that going to make the money in your account go up or down? If you pay a bill, then you're actually spending your money, so that would be a type of withdrawal. Deposit is when you're adding, and withdrawal is when you're subtracting. Receiving a check for a graduation present. So you get money from a grandparent and you want to put it in your account. Okay, you're making a deposit. It's going to add money to your account. Number 3, using a debit card for a restaurant meal. We're going to talk more about debit cards tomorrow, but that's a way that you take money from your account to pay for something. So that's not going to increase your account balance, it's going to decrease it. So that would be a withdrawal. Number 4, taking money from an ATM. Again, when you are taking money out of the bank, that is making your account balance go down. So that is a withdrawal. All right. So in this next part, it says determine the balance for each checking account below. We have an opening balance, it says here, of $894.55. That means that opening balance is what you're starting out with. So we want to go ahead and write that. That's not really a withdrawal or a deposit. It's the actual place to start. So we're going to put it all the way over to the right, $894.55. Okay, and so let's remember in this column we're going to see withdrawals. In this column we're going to have deposits. Withdrawals, they decrease our balance, and deposits increase our balance. So when we have a withdrawal, we'll be subtracting we have deposit, we'll be adding. So this one says we paid the rent on March 1st, and we spent $575. It's a withdrawal. So that's going to make this balance go down by $575. So over here, we're going to go ahead and subtract that. $894.55 minus $575. 55. And a lot of this now is done online. And so it will quickly determine your balance, and you're less likely to make mistakes. It's always good to know how to do something manually in case you don't have access to a computer, or if something happened to your account and you need to go back and double check it. This is the process you would use. All right, so again, we can see we wrote a check. 1045 is the number that's on the check. We'll mark it checks later too. And so it's written on March 1st or 3rd, sorry, and it was for the utility bills. Utilities are things like electricity and water. So again, that's a withdrawal. It's going to go and make our account go down. So we're going to subtract again. That would be 6. That's 8 and 7 is 1. 0 and 2. $201.64. So we're going to put that here. Now I know I have $201.64. The next entry, it says that there was a check, 1046 on March 6th. This is a paycheck, so that's me getting paid. That's going to increase my balance. So now I'm going to add, and it's in the deposit section. It's important to sort of keep track of when you have a withdrawal and deposit, and eventually when you answer questions about this, they may sometimes ask you, is there something in the wrong column? All right, so paycheck, that's going to be deposit. Okay, if I have a car payment in the deposit part, then that, that may be the mistake they want you to catch. Okay, so just be aware of that. So we're adding now for $1,161.64. Okay, so that's a nice balance. We're going to make a car payment. So here on March 10th, we paid. So that is decreasing. To borrow. Okay, so looks like that's 7. 15 minus 9 is 6. 10 minus 5 is 5. 15 minus 7 is 8. $885.65. So $885.67. All right, and then our next entry on March 11th, we transferred money from savings. All right, so we obviously have 2 accounts, and we needed some extra money. Maybe we know we have a big bill coming up that we're going to need to pay, so we put some money from our savings into our checking. That's going to increase our checking. It decreased our savings, but right now this is our checking account balance, so this is going to be an increase to our account. We add. We get $1,210.67. And then the last entry says on March 21st, we had a debit purchase. So a debit is when you use, debit cards are tied to your checking accounts, and they're like a credit card, but it comes immediately out of your checking account. So this would be a decrease of $35. Oops, should be a 7. 10 and a 1. All right, so 5, 7, 1. So $1,175.67 is our final balance for the account. All right, so I'm going to let you keep working on the next few problems. So 7 and 8, it says Kayla had a balance of $106.15 in her checking account. She deposits $75. What is her new balance? So if it's a deposit, what are you going to do? Add or subtract? You're going to add. All right, and then number 8, Willis had a balance of $546.24 in his checking account. He wrote a check for $100.35. What is his new balance? So again, if he's writing a check, is that money that he's depositing or withdrawing? And obviously, if he's writing a check, that's going to make his account go down. So we're going to be subtracting those. I'll let you do that. And the last thing, your homework is to find an adult. It doesn't have to be your parent. It could be a grandparent, neighbor, teacher, someone who has experience with money, an older sibling even, and ask them these 2 questions. What is the difference between a credit card and a debit card, and which do they prefer? And then number 2, what is interest? So get them to tell you what these are, and then write it down, and we'll talk about it some more in class. All right, see you later.